Hello there, everybody. Welcome back. I'm here to be talking about Survivor 48. Now, this is the newest season in the new era, so the stuff that has been prevalent in this new era pretty much is still here. The 26 days, the 3 tribes of 6, and Fiji, and the after show. A lot of that stuff still here, probably never going away. But this season has been really divisive amongst a lot of fans that I've seen, because it started out, at least how I took it, is it started out kind of boring with the first, couple episodes, because when you do the same format and you do the same, location and same, basis, you're gonna start to notice things that repeat. For example, you pretty much will always have a tribe that is complete garbage and will lose the first 3 or 4 challenges, and you'll begin content about we suck, we need to persevere, we're gonna do something. And for this season, it was this green tribe, which didn't play a pivotal role later on into the season, because obviously people need to pick up that if someone's on a tribe like that and they get to the end, they're very likely going to win. As we've seen with seasons like 44, obviously the Tika 3, who were on that garbage tribe, dominated. In 46, Kenzie was on that garbage tribe, at the beginning, and dominated. And so you see that happen where you'll have a tribe really bad, and if one or a couple of them make it near the end, they either gain a lot of power and dominate the later part of the game, or their story is just too good to pass up. And so, you could already tell how their story's going to go, despite what they do in the game, which, that's to be expected. And then the other 2 tribes, you had the orange tribe, and then you had the purple tribe. They also were pretty good, and they got a lot of focus in this pre-merge. So you could tell that the winner was probably from one of those tribes, and they were the people from those tribes were in the end game per se. And I gotta really speak up about how this season really emphasized on duos. And there was a lot of different duos in this season. Obviously, you had the main 2 duos in Joe and Eva, and Camilla and Kyle. But besides that, you also had, little fun duos. Like the pre-merge, you had Say, one of the people from the Green Tribe, and her back and forth. Interesting, complex dynamic with Cedric. You also had, her with her banter with Mary. All this is from the Green Tribe, because the Green Tribe got a lot of content pre-merge because they kept going to Tribal. Also, speaking of the Green Tribe, I do have to mention how Cedric is probably one of the most baffling and crazy pre-merge games I've seen from a player. Because, bro, at that 3rd Tribal, when it was supposed to be Mary, but she played her shot in the dark, he votes not once but twice to vote out Say, and because he's tight with Justin and didn't want to vote him out. But then Say makes her plea and all, and he switches his vote to keep Say. After voting for someone twice, he decides to keep that person, which obviously she was against him at that point, because he tried to vote her out twice, even though he ended up saving her. And that whole thing, I had to mention that, because that was absolutely insane. And then at the next one, he goes to Tribal 2 when they're supposed to vote out Say again. He switches his vote to Bianca and votes her out. And his main arguments were Justin didn't tell him that he didn't have a vote, which proved that he couldn't be trustworthy. So that was part of the reason, and Say's plea to keep her over him. And so that was ultimately what he did. But yet, for Bianca, she told him that she didn't have a vote, and that made him decide, okay, let's get rid of her. So it appears you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. So you're screwed if you tell Cedric something, and if you don't tell Cedric something. So his game was maddening to watch. It was just really bad gameplay. So I just had to mention that, because that was just crazy. But fun to watch, but crazy. And of course, you had not as much developed for obvious reasons, but on Purple, you also had a duo with Thomas and Bianca, who, were kind of scheming and doing their thing, but since they both went early, it didn't really play a factor. And of course, how can we forget the main duo in David and Milk? So that was that was hilarious. But Yeah, David was awesome. Like, a lot of the cast was really fun and solid, but of course, one of the main alliances that really took shape was the Strong Alliance. You know, the Strong Guys plus Eva Alliance, where obviously two of the big players of the season was Joe and Eva, and probably the best episode, at least one of the best episodes in the new era, or just in general, in my opinion, was that 5th episode when Eva had that emotional moment and Joe went to comfort her, which was just really incredible. And like, from that moment, I really want one of them to win. And I really thought that was going to happen because, as we see near the end, they both make the finale, they both make Final 2, but the legend himself, Kyle, was able to clutch up and beat them. And I really did like his story throughout because he was really likable. He stuck with them. He didn't take goats to the end because I think they were both real competitors and they gave him a run for his money. But, you know, he stuck with it. Everyone understood the assignment on what season this was. And it felt a bit more like an old school type season where they were more focused on, you know, like building bonds and, you know, having, you know, the honest integrity stuff, which could be considered a little bit hypocritical throughout because people that were in that alliance were blindsided and voted out, like David and Shaheen later on. Due to be, I mean, they were tricked for the Shaheen one, but David, they really cut him out, which was crazy. But and Bro was letting them have it on the jury with some of his facial expressions and him standing up when his ally, Mary, got voted out. That was hilarious. Like, a lot of this season could be wrapped up as a bit boring, unfortunately, due to, you know, the predictable boot order. But I did like the people that were in charge. So I can't really complain too much because they were just, the people that were on the bottom weren't really given that much content. It's like they were wanting you to root for the people in charge. And as we saw, one of them, Kyle, ended up winning, so it makes sense. But of course, that got a lot of the people on social media and the fandom in general angry because they don't like it when a strong alliance of guys, you know, steamrolls and wins. Because from what we've come to learn, they mostly like it when women win and, you know, girl power and, you know, mothers and all that crap. But I will say the season was a bit boring in some aspects because you knew what was going on. But what kept me really wanting to watch was to see if they could actually pull through and one of them can win. And I was thinking it might not happen because Camilla looked like she was going to win there. But, you know, she lost in fire. So I was like, okay, it's probably going to be Kyle because of, you know, the later half of the season with the Shaheen boot and the finale was really evident that one of those two will win. And Joe and Eva became an afterthought in the finale, shockingly, when they were given so much content, especially Joe. They really hyped him up and gave him all these different moments, like the slow-mo of him winning this immunity when he was on the chopping block to be voted out, when Star went home, and them hyping up Joe, if he gets to the end, he'll win, when Mary got voted out. And so they were really putting so much on Joe. Just for him to be third place was shocking to me. So that made me really think production really loves this guy. He's probably going to be on 50, like 99% chance he's on 50. I would be shocked if he wasn't with this edit they gave him. I don't know if he'll make it that far in 50 because of this edit, but maybe he will because he wasn't a threat at the end, as we saw, and he is proven to be loyal and stick with people. Like, he stuck with Eva and Kyle the whole time, and they were apparently bigger threats than him, so maybe that is someone you want to work with. But again, this season was a whole bunch of different thoughts and, you know, critiques that I had with it, but overall it was another solid season of Survivor. Not as great as, you know, I want it to be, but not like the worst of the new era, like a lot of the crazies online say. I still think some of the worst in the new era is obviously 41, 42 were terrible, 44 was awful. Like, those three are bottom three easily. But I have to think about, I was thinking it's going to take a while for me to really adjust where this would be on my rankings for new era, but it wasn't that bad. It still had some fun moments, some great character moments. The incredible episode 5 with Joe and Eva was really great. I loved seeing these duos like Camilla and Kyle was really fun. And, you know, even the joke ones like David and Milk and all, like, there were some fun moments there. Some really cool challenge that they had. And even though some of them were the same that we've seen, it was just, seeing these characters play, and that's what really gets me loving the show, is seeing these different characters interact and play the game. But with all that said, those are my thoughts on Survivor 48. Again, what did you all think of this season? Please let me know down below in the comment section. And if you want to hit the bell and subscribe to when I upload, that would mean so much to me. Again, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye.